Warning, the Stone Age Gamer includes a lot of bad language. Cover your mother ears.
Good evening and welcome to episode 131 of the Stone Age Gamer podcast for the week of December 23rd, 2016. I am Kris Randazzo, and joining me, as always, is futuristic theme park Dr. Dan Ryan.
I certainly am. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy your ride. Ew. Gross.
Tonight, we finally get around to all the news that's been popping up all over the place for the last several weeks. In fact, that's all we're doing tonight is discussing news topics, and I think it should be tons of fun. And hopefully we won't go until midnight. But before we go any further,
1 o'clock in the morning.
1 a.m. That's the goal. Here's your weekly reminder that you can email us at mail@geekade.com. Let us know what you think of our show, what topics you would like us to discuss in the future, or just say hello, because we always want to hear from you, the gentle listener. And I believe that you're gentle. Also, speaking of authors, because we were...
Were we? I must have tuned out there for a minute.
I must have been referring to something when I wrote that. Here's another quick reminder that you can still get 20% off all orders from Rolenta Press till the end of the year using the promotion code PHEIV. That includes Phoenix 4 and Ralph Baer's History of Video Games in the beginning. So thank you, Mr. Leonard Herman, again for that. And you can also get $5 off Michael Thomason's book Downright Bizarre Games from Good Deal Games by using the promo code WAFFLES or by just mentioning that you were referred by our show. Note that they do not actually have a cart system in place to enter the code, so when you fill out the form, you just need to mention our podcast and or Waffles. Dan, how are you?
I'm good, Chris. My really hoping that Santa Claus brings me a new iPhone case, because the one I have now is well, it's ratchet AF, I believe is what the kids say.
All right.
Did you say 1 a.m. is what we were shooting for? 1 a.m.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're 5 hours away. Let's see what we can...
Let's talk about news. Let's talk about what's been going on in the world of video games. And
a whole lot.
Yeah, really a whole lot. So we'll start off with just a little tiny thing. There's not much of a discussion to have here, but just a general happy birthday. December 19th, 1986. About 30 years ago, Kid Icarus was released in Japan. And
why is there not a thing for that?
Why there wasn't a thing for Metroid, for crying out loud?
Like, yeah, that's fair.
Nintendo's busy
switching things around.
Yeah, switching things around. That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it
would have been nice to have a skin in Miitomo or something. Like they did small things like that for Metroid. Like it would have been nice to have a little, a sale on Kid Icarus games in the eShop.
There
or
you
something.
go.
Just a little something.
Acknowledge.
All 3 Kid Icarus games are available in the 3DS eShop.
Yeah,
all 3 of them.
Acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, this came out 30 years ago.
One of our franchises is 30 goddamn years old.
Right.
That's cool. Good for them. Well, I'm happy for them. I'm happy Pit's still around. Kid Icarus Uprising was a great game. I want to see more Pit in my future. Oh, yeah. Happy 30th anniversary, Kid Icarus.
Happy birthday.
Yay. Happy birthday. Super Mario Run came out.
Boo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't like it?
I don't like that I can play the first 3 bits of level 1 and then I have to pay $10 goddamn for a runner. Like, no.
Yeah, I've definitely already gotten my $10 worth of play out of it. I've played it at least once every day since it came out. I am really, really into it. I'm surprised how into it I was.
Like, it's well made, but I just don't see that there's $10 there. But that's a Nintendo thing. Like, I don't see that there's $5 in the original Super Mario Brothers anymore. But lots of other people do, you know?
So, there's not $5 in the original Super Mario Brothers for me anymore because I've bought it 16 times. But this right here, I mean, look, yeah, $10 is a premium price. I would have been happier if it was $5. But I'm also happy that it's no microtransactions, that this is the game. It is 100% of the game done. They already said they're not throwing updates or bonus levels or DLC or any of that other stuff. $10 is the whole game. And that's a relatively unique thing on the App Store. And I gotta say, like, I'm really, I did not. That's not true. I did expect to enjoy this game as much as I am. I just expected to enjoy it a little bit differently. Because I like, Bit Trip Runner. I love that game, and the thought of combining that with Mario was really interesting to me, because this does play really smart. Like, it's very clever. The level design is very smart. The hidden coin challenges is a lot of fun, and the Toad Rally I'm having a lot of fun with. I'm doing that pretty much every morning. I'm doing a Toad Rally and just doing tricks and trying to get high scores, and it's very fun. I don't have a lot of history of buying mobile games to begin with,
right.
So this doesn't. I wouldn't mind paying $10 for this if it were on 3DS. So I don't mind paying $10 for it on iPhone. Like, it's just a different platform. It's very clever. I do think that it's worth $10. I don't like that it is tied to your data and stuff like that for the anti-piracy stuff, because in my house my Wi-Fi sucks, so I'm in my bedroom and I want to play a level before I go to bed, but my internet doesn't reach there too well, so sometimes I'll launch the app and I'll be waiting there for like 3 or 4 minutes before it can even open up. And it's like, I don't care about any of that connectivity stuff right now. I just want to actually just beat another level.
Yeah, I just want to play the game
because it can't communicate with the goddamn internet.
Yeah,
and that I do not care for. I'm not saying it's a perfect game by any stretch, but
no, sure,
it is definitely a premium product as far as App Store games go. And I'm really happy with it. I really am. It's ever so slightly nervous about it, just because it's kind of a weird thing to have Mario on mobile. But
right,
I think it works really well. It's as fun as I had hoped it would be.
They made the controls work really well. It looks great. It runs very smoothly. It sounds really good. Like all of that is there. I just think it's about $5 overpriced.
Yeah, I don't know that overpriced is the word that I would agree with. I do think that they would have sold a lot more of them if it was $5.
Well, just comparing it to other things on the App Store that are around that price, games of that size are usually in the $5 range.
Yeah.
Skulls of the Shogun I think is even cheaper than $5, and there's way more game. And the Infinity Blade games were like $2.99, and they're huge. Like, they're massively made games. $10 just. But Nintendo has that premium price kind of always associated with their stuff. I mean, like I said, you go on the 3DS eShop, and the original Legend of Zelda is $5, and that seems crazy. I mean,
it does.
To me, that seems like an insane price point for a game that's 25, 30 years old at this point. Like, that should be 99 cents. I mean,
it's
based
kind of an
on
interesting
App Store
philosophy.
prices.
Yeah, based on App Store prices. It's interesting to look at Nintendo's philosophy going into this, because I remember reading interviews about this where they were saying that they didn't want to come in. One of the things that they never liked about the mobile market was that whole race to the bottom thing. Like, how cheap can we get our games out there so that people will buy them? And Nintendo kind of wanted to buck that trend. Like, I know Square has tried to do that for a while, but they haven't really matched it with quality so much with their App Store games. Whereas Nintendo really wanted to come in and say, well, we think that a game of this caliber, this is what we would sell it for on our platforms, and this is what we have sold games like this for on our platforms. In fact, if a new Mario game like this, if this came out on 3DS at $10, I think people would think that this was a pretty good deal, because if they tossed a new Mario platformer, even one as short as this on 3DS, they would probably market that thing at least $15. So
probably,
I don't know. It's a very interesting thing to do, and I think it's a really bold move of them to say, yeah, we're going to put Mario on smartphones, but we're not going to play this game of having other stuff on there be cheap. We think that games are worth this much money. We think this is how much people should be willing to pay for premium content. And this is a bold play. What is it? I was listening to a Nintendo voice chat earlier, and they mentioned that Minecraft on mobile is like $7.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like,
comparison of content.
Yeah.
Wow. Because Super Mario Run is considerably less game than Minecraft.
I mean, I just looked up, just out of curiosity while you were talking. Final Fantasy VII is 13 on the App Store right now. Final Fantasy VI is 8. The original Final Fantasy is 4. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm saying, like, $10 for a runner that is pretty short. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they have...
it is and it isn't. Like,
they
as
have
far
said
as
that there's nothing else coming for my $10. Like, I buy Final Fantasy VII for $13 on this, and I've got an 80-hour game. And I know how you feel about Final Fantasy VII, but, you know, the argument can be made that it's one of the top games of all time.
But do you want to play that on your cell phone for 80 hours?
I don't know that it would make that much of a difference because there's not so much moving that happens. Like, I think an RPG like that is actually kind of perfect for this. I don't want to play, like, I wouldn't want to play God of War on this, you know what I mean? But for Final Fantasy, there's not a lot of intricate movements, and then once I get into a battle, I'm just pressing menu buttons. So I get that. I could see playing a game like Final Fantasy VII for this, and Final Fantasy VII for $13, that seems kind of worth it. $3 more than like Super Mario Run, like that seems it's $4.99, and I would have bought it.
I do think that $4.99 would have been the right price to go, but I understand why they went 10. I don't understand why they went so far with the online connectivity. I'm curious to see how this plays out for them a little bit more long term.
Right.
Because the other part of this story is that it's the downloads just for the app itself, not the paid downloads, but the downloads was for their first day, it was over 5 million, which is obscene.
Yeah, that's absurd.
It's made them a crap ton of money. It grossed more than $5 million worldwide in its first 24 hours. The usage, I'm looking at we'll have a link to this page in the show notes. The usage is the average playtime is about 16 minutes. As opposed to Pokemon Go, average playtime is 22, and Clash Royale is 28. And I buy that. That's about how long I spend playing Super Mario Run.
Yeah.
Is about 10, 15 minutes. The other piece of this whole story that's interesting is, and I hate investors. I hate investors. The other big story was that Nintendo and DNA shares were down after the release of Super Mario Run. Because the reasons that people were listing are just absolute absurdity. Like, a lot of investors were just kind of disappointed that the game came out and there are no microtransactions. I don't know about you, but I've known that there weren't going to be microtransactions since they announced the game and said there weren't going to be any microtransactions.
Yeah,
these are the same jackasses that launched Nintendo's stocks through the stratosphere when Pokemon Go came out, and after they realized Nintendo didn't actually make it, then their stocks dropped again.
Yeah.
Like, investors didn't know Nintendo didn't make Pokemon Go. Investors didn't know that Mario Run didn't have microtransactions.
Just because you got money doesn't mean you're smart. It means you extra.
The other thing that they're basing a lot of this off of...
Nothing? Okay. I was trying to work that in, but all right, I guess so.
The other thing that they're basing a lot of this stock garbage off of is reviews on the App Store. Mm-hmm. And that is... like half of the negative reviews. I would say at least half of the negative reviews are just like, Mario sucks, 1 star. Like, not actual reviews of the game, just haters. Because no matter how you slice it, no matter how you look at things, there is a considerable contingent of people on the internet that get a real kick out of Nintendo failing.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know precisely why, but there's a large contingent of people that every time Nintendo announces something, Nintendo is doomed, Nintendo has failed, they're awful, man, Nintendo's gonna die, buy an Xbox. It's like, what? Why do you take such glee in this? I don't understand.
I've never understood it. I don't understand wanting something to fail. And I know that sometimes maybe on this show it seems like we want Xbox to fail because of how we talk about them, but like I don't think we actually do. Like we point out their mistakes and some of the silly things that they do, but competition is good. Right?
Competition is great. I sat through a 10-minute video on Killer Instinct this morning because they announced a new character for Killer Instinct, and even though I think the game looks like garbage, I'm so invested in that franchise, I want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, so, I don't know. I don't know.
Look, we're gonna wait and see how this all goes because the Super Mario Run got that coveted App Store position before the holiday season, so It's gonna be like the main thing on the page for a good long while.
Yeah,
and people are talking about the game.
It's gonna sell. I wish there were more content for your $10. Mm-hmm. And I wish it were $5. Like I said, at $5, I would have bought it so that my kids could play it, and I would play it. And I sort of wish that the free part that I could play through included the first castle. Like, let me at least complete the first thing.
That would have been pretty nice.
Because I got to that point, like, my reaction playing through it was like, this is pretty fun. This is pretty fun. Oh, this is behind a paywall. Well, let's see how much this. Fuck you. Like, that was my reaction. Not like, maybe, it's worth, like, no. Like, you won't even let me complete the first level, and then you're throwing that $10 thing. Like, I'm just not into it.
My reaction was real different because I didn't think there was going to be a free version at all. I thought it was just going to be, you want this, it's $10 up front. And so when there was a free version, I was like, I get to try it? Neat. So I tried it out, and after the third level, it was all like, all right, $10. And I was like, yeah, this is really fun. $10. And I threw it down, and honest to God, I haven't regretted it. I'm really curious to see if we start to see more games like this on iPhone. I mean, like, look, the Square games you were talking about, those are all ports.
Sure.
This is an original game that was designed around mobile, and I want to see what happens when more developers, more traditional game developers, look at this market. And if Super Mario Run is a big success at a premium price like $10, I want to see what happens in the future with that. Are more companies going to start to be bold enough to say that, well, if Mario can sell at $10, maybe our game can sell at $10 too, and they'll put more effort into it instead of the countless Flappy Birds and whatnot that are all over.
But that'll be the problem, is that more developers will be like, well, Mario sold for $10, so you're going to get Sonic Blitz for $10 and nobody's going to fucking buy it, and you'll get Crash Bandicoot whatever for $10. Yeah, Crash Bandicoot Jammin', and like nobody's going to buy it for $10. Like, people spend $10 because it's Mario and because it's Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Sonic would not sell it at $10.
No, but the other thing is like, you couldn't just spend that $10 up front. Like, you get the free game, you play it for a few levels, and then they offer you the chance to buy it. So I think everybody had the opportunity to say what you said is, screw this.
Not for me.
And I'm really curious. I think it's pretty fair that they gave everyone the chance to do that. So I'm really curious how the final sales numbers of this are going to be, because it's an interesting thing to have happened, and it was a very bold choice on Nintendo's part. So
it was. It's no Puzzle and Dragons, I'll give it that.
It certainly isn't. All right. Yooka-Laylee has got a release date. It's set to release on April 11th, 2017 for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Playtonic Games tweeted about it a couple days ago. They also made mention that the game for Wii U has been canned. This is particularly interesting as opposed to what happened with Bloodstained, where they haven't officially canceled the Wii U version yet, but they're talking about it because it doesn't make a lot of sense for a game to come out on Wii U in 2018. Yooka-Laylee...
No, it doesn't.
I didn't realize this until I read more into it, that Yooka-Laylee's primary platform was Wii U. Like, I didn't know that it was being developed for Wii U and then ported to other platforms. I figured it was Xbox One, PS4, and then being downported. So it was actually a pretty difficult decision for them to say we have to can the Wii U on, because they just couldn't make the game that they wanted to make on it. Of course, they haven't actually announced a Switch version yet. They've all but announced a Switch version.
Right, you have to imagine that is coming.
I mean, I'm looking at a Twitter conversation right now that says, at Salty Dolphin... I love Twitter sometimes. At Salty Dolphin says, Platonic, I'll support you guys through thick and thin. Little bummed we won't be on Wii U, but I planned on grabbing the Switch anyway. Platonic responded, thanks for the support. The other one that I was looking at was... something where they said, well, we'll be able to switch over to the Switch one, and they're like, sure, we'll talk more about that next month. So they're all but confirmed that they're bringing it to Switch. I can't imagine they won't.
Well, and it might just be behind the embargo that Nintendo has put out of we are not talking about games until January 12th.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
That very well may be a big launch title for them.
It could be, yeah. I mean,
and it would make sense. I mean...
Well, actually, if it's a launch might be a little early. I mean, if the game is set, it's kind of hard unless we don't know enough of the story, because if it's set to release on April 11th and the Switch comes out in March, it's possible that it'll show up on Switch at the same time as the other platforms. But that all depends on when they started developing it to Switch, or how much effort it was to take all the work they put in the Wii U version, bring it over to Switch, and fix it.
Right. It feels like a game that should be on a Nintendo console.
Definitely. I mean, it's done with... It's all done with those N64 platformers at heart, you know? That's what this is. It's an homage to Banjo-Kazooie. It's the same story as Bloodstained. We can't make Castlevania, so we're going to make Bloodstained. We can't make Banjo-Kazooie, so we're going to make Yooka-Laylee. Yeah,
we're going to make the game that you want. We're just going to call it something... different.
Yeah, we just have to make a new world. And Yooka-Laylee are very charming looking characters. I think Banjo and Kazooie are a little bit more charming, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that this is something that I will buy.
Me neither. I was never a huge Banjo fan.
Yeah, I don't like the Banjo-Kazooie games. Not that they're not good, but I was a little too old when they came out to really recapture my youth, as it were, in the charming platformer that Banjo-Kazooie was, and Banjo-Tooie, that name was just too disgustingly cute to even care about. Really? Okay. No.
I couldn't do I was not a fan of those 3D Rare games anyway. I was still a huge Donkey Kong fan, and I was stoked for DK64, but I've never finished that game. I do not have time to play the same level as 5 different monkeys collecting 5 different colored, hundreds of 5 different colored bananas. The Collectathon 3D world
that's
thing.
Just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not for me. I get it. I understand the draw. It is very not for me. So yeah, I'm not a target for Yooka-Laylee anyway, but it is an interesting story, and I'm so glad this game looks to be shaping up really well. This and Bloodstained are looking way better than Mighty Number 9. So
yeah, that was just
fingers crossed.
I told you, I think I walked by and saw it in a Target for $7.99. Did I tell you this? Yeah.
No, and you didn't. Yeah. That's fantastic.
I was out doing some Christmas shopping around Black Friday, I think, and saw Mighty Number 9 in just a dump bin of games, and I was like, "Fuck, no shit." See how much that is? $7.99, and I picked it up and went, no.
Which version was it?
The PS4 version.
Okay. See, you know what? That game is worth $8 on PS4.
I thought it might have been, but
it definitely is. If it was the Wii U version, I would have said no. There's almost no amount of money that would make me want to. I have the Wii U version. I backed the damn thing. It is nigh unplayable because of the load times. But if you were to take out the load times, it's a decent game.
I figure that eventually it will end up in a $1.99 sale or just as a free game that will be given away on, PS Plus, whatever.
And that's when you'll do it.
So I'll play it then, but I was like, $7.99? Nah, I don't need that. And that broke my heart. Like, I walked by it, and like I came home, and like I walked in the door, and Tiff was like, "Oh, what's the matter?" And I was like, "Money number 9 was $8, and I didn't buy it." That makes me sad. Because I love Inafune, but you should have made a better game, dude.
Seriously. It's just should have paid attention to that. Not making it into an anime, not spawning it into a franchise.
Yeah, maybe make a good game first, and then
build a good base.
Yeah,
All right, Zelda. This is fascinating. I remember seeing this post and then not really thinking anything of it until I read a little bit more about it. There's like another Zelda book coming out. Like Hyrule Historia was amazing.
It's a great book. I love it.
I freaking love that book. And then they announced earlier this year that the Art and Artifacts book is coming out, which, can't wait to get my hands on that. But there's another one. It's the Hyrule Encyclopedia. And this says the first chapter is a visual encyclopedia and will explain keywords like Master Sword and Hyrule Kingdom and various images. As for the second chapter, it's a database with a list of enemies, items, dungeons, and more. Third chapter will contain archives and will give explanatory notes and storylines of each game. This is coming from NintendoEverything.com. I'm jazzed as hell for this. It hasn't been announced for America yet, but clearly it's coming.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no way they're not releasing this. And I'm sure Dark Horse is going to do it because they did the Hyrule Historia and they're doing Art and Artifacts. But, oh, boy, more Zelda books.
It really makes me wonder, like this sort of thing, and we've talked about it before on the show. We even did a crossover episode. Why is there not a Zelda comic? Like, that world is so rife for storytelling possibility. The fact that, like, that those things don't exist.
Apparently the Zelda mangas are really good. Yeah, I've never read any of them.
But I'm not Japanese. We've covered this before. I don't live in Japan. I'm not like
you
Zelda's
can get them here in America,
here.
but it's still it's still translated manga. You're still reading, right to left. It's not the same as an American comic book. And you're right. I don't understand how that's not a thing.
Or novels, or a TV show, or something. Like it's just. Yeah, I'm excited for this. The Hyrule Historia is a gorgeous book. It's weird and confusing in just the exact way that a Zelda thing should be. Of like, well, we're going to explain to you how to read this book. It's like, fuck, Nintendo? Do you have to be so Nintendo? Like, you couldn't just write a book. You have to write about, like, how to actually use this book because you're Nintendo. You weed up a book. God damn it. Bastards. This next news item you have, when you posted this, I went, I didn't know they were still doing that.
Yeah. Majesco Entertainment is out of the video game biz. They have left the building.
No more bases loaded.
That was Jalico.
Oh, see,
and yes,
I don't
more
even,
bases loaded. They're still doing that.
I don't even fucking like. That is how off the radar Majesco has been. Since the Advent Rising flop of like 2004, whatever it was, they've done nothing. It was
a while ago. I mean, let's see. In this article from Game Informer, they list a few of their more recent things. Blood Rain. They published Psychonauts.
They did publish Psychonauts, but they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but they're the ones that published it. They published Cooking Mama, and I'm sure this is sarcastic as Game Informer is listing this as the classic Drake of the 99 Dragons.
Oh, that's
which is a horrible game.
No, that's the best game ever made. You just don't know.
I mean, Majesco, they've been around for 30 years.
I really didn't even know they were still publishing games or making things.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those sad but not that sad stories. It's like, you're right, they haven't really done anything for a long time.
And they were pretty big back in the day.
Yeah, they had some decent names under their belt.
Apparently, I thought Bases Loaded was one of them, but I mean,
that's okay.
Fuck Majesco. I think is what we come down to.
Ouch.
Yeah, well,
This year is one of my favorite things that's happened recently. This made me very happy. Reggie Fils-Aimé was on Jimmy Fallon, who I'm not a fan of, but sure.
Who, Reggie or Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jimmy Fallon. I don't find him all that entertaining.
You still shipping Conan?
No.
The late night host?
I'm not really into late night shows to begin with.
Yeah,
I think
neither.
Conan's pretty funny. I find him more entertaining than Jimmy Fallon, because at least Conan doesn't spend 80% of his time laughing at his own jokes. But
We need to bring back Carson. Is he still alive?
I don't think so.
Or did 2016 kill him too? Damn you, 2016!
So Reggie went on there to demo Super Mario Run. I remember when they announced it, I was like, all right, Reggie's going to be on there. Oh, it's just Super Mario Run. Okay. So I didn't bother tuning in.
Right.
And then I wake up in the morning. They're like, no, he brought a Nintendo Switch and they live demoed it for the first time on the air. And I was like, watch the video.
Maybe you should have mentioned that.
Yeah. I would have tuned in if you told me that in the first place.
Well, I would have DVR'd it. I mean,
I was already
past my
sold
bedtime.
on Super Mario Run. Like,
Right.
I already knew that I already signed up for the notifications. I was already going to get it, but I didn't know that Switch was going to be there. Not that I'm not already sold on Switch, but there's so many questions about it.
Right.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more later. But it was really impressive.
it looks good.
It calmed a lot of my fears about Breath of the Wild because it ran smoother.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was. I wrote a whole thing on Stone Age Gamer about it. It was actually very amusing the way that panned out. I wrote an article on Stone Age Gamer about because they showed off the new trailer for Zelda at the Game Awards, and I was like, "This looks neat, but it's also choppy. Like, there's some frame rate issues here, and I've been noticing them since they first debuted the game, and I'm starting to get worried that this game is going to have very Master of None feel."
Right.
And then, like, the day after I wrote that and published that piece on Stone Age Gamer, they showed the demo on Jimmy Fallon, and not like they did that huge explosion, and there wasn't so much as a hiccup in the frame rate. Everything ran smoother. The combat looked great. Like, when Jimmy was playing it on the Switch handheld version, the combat looked great. It animated so much better than it did elsewhere. And it was subtle, but it felt so much better looking. That was some weird English there, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Well, like, what probably happened was that Reggie was probably checking Stone Age Gamer as he does daily, and
As he does.
and saw your article and was like, well, if this fucking neckbeard thinks that our shit isn't good, I'm going to show him, get Fallon
him
on the
what's what.
phone, and bring Miyamoto with me. He's got to play with the roots.
Which was fantastic.
Which was awesome. That was my favorite part of the whole thing, was just this amazing shit-eating grin on Miyamoto's face as he's fucking rocking out with the roots.
That's just, what a ridiculous visual that was.
That is the most insane sentence. that is a thing. I fucking love the Roots so much. I adore that group. They're so great. Like, Tuba Gooding Jr. is one of my fucking favorite things in the world. But Miyamoto, they played Mario Brothers theme song together. Weird. It was a weird fucking thing that happened. That's
I'm so glad it
so
exists.
strange. Yeah.
So
Thank
I
you,
wrote
Jimmy
the article, Legend of Zelda Concerns of the Wild, and then 2 days later I wrote Legend of Zelda, never mind, this looks great.
Never mind, I was wrong. Meh.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Just me writing, I was wrong.
Yeah.
So, Switch, looking good. There's a lot of stuff out there talking about these, like there's a whole patent thing with Switch that was released. We could go on a whole long tirade about it.
And we will. Don't you worry. We will take their next 6-minute video and turn it into an hour-and-a-half podcast. Don't you fucking worry, listeners.
That'll
on it.
happen. Look, there's tons of other, like, Game Explain did a really, really, really good teardown of all that stuff. Watch their video. You don't need to hear my take on it because it's going to be pretty similar to everything that Game Explain said. The most recent episode of Nintendo Voice Chat from IGN also, they did a really nice conversation about that. So Needless to say, a lot of the things that you assume are in the Switch, like touchscreen and motion controls, are essentially confirmed by these patent records.
Right.
The most interesting thing about the patent thing, did you look at that stuff?
Briefly. I don't do a lot of research.
Did you see the VR thing?
I didn't. I read something about like, hey, there's like a VR component. I was like, all right. Here we go.
This I think is I don't know how far along that is. I don't know how realistic it is to think that that's. I don't know how much effort they've really put into it, but it's kind of genius. It's really similar to that like what's the Google Pixel thing?
Yeah,
you know where you just shove your phone into this little headset thing.
Yeah. It's a Samsung thing. I think has one too.
Okay, it's basically that. It's you put the Switch in this helmet. And then the Joy-Cons are the controllers, and the Joy-Cons have gyro and motion controls and stuff in them. So that's actually kind of perfect.
Yeah, and there's some cool possibilities with that. The one thing, like the thing I want from VR gaming, and I was just watching a video with Tiff the other day on a Good Mythical Morning, which is a YouTube show that does not need our help or mention. But they were playing a VR game, and the person who had the VR headset on was controlling a spy in first person, and you're like sneaking around this building, and you have to find like documents or diamonds or whatever the fuck you have to find. And then another person was looking at a map of the facility on the TV screen or on their phone or wherever you might be looking at it. And the map had like where the trapdoors were and like different stuff. So you had to communicate to the person in the playing the first person part. You had to tell them like, all right, hug the wall here, turn right, don't step too far to the left because you'll step on the thing. Like that's the sort of stuff that I think is exciting about VR, like that sort of co-op gameplay and like new sort of gameplay experiences.
Something that's embracing the fact that one,
right?
That's almost that's crazy. That's almost Wii U.
Sort of, yeah.
That's I never even thought about that until right now.
That's what the Wii U should have been.
That's the asynchronous sort of gameplay that they were going for. This is the next level of that. I'm suddenly interested in VR.
Right. So that sounds really cool. But if the Switch is only on the pad or on the TV, that's not something it'll be able to do. So that raises another question. How would you handle that sort of thing?
Yeah, no idea.
Because other games have tried to do that with, like, The Division. There is an app. Metal Gear Solid had an app as well that is like a companion piece to it, but isn't necessary for the functionality of the game. But that asynchronous gameplay and that sort of interesting new co-op, that's what I'm interested in VR. Yeah. Like, we've talked about it before of, like, what's the thing that will get you into VR gaming? That's it. I don't know that this, like, sneaking around in, like, a blocky first-person kind of thing is exactly the application that I'm looking for, but that sort of thing is where I want, where I could see sitting down with the wife and the kids in front of the TV and laughing and having a good time with that is in that sort of gameplay. So, but if the Switch can't do that, then that's kind of weird. And that's what we talked about last time of, like, it's weird that the Switch will be an either-or kind of thing.
It is a little bit, but again, we don't know enough about it. Yeah, we don't know enough about it. Maybe it isn't. Maybe there is going to be an attachment that if you do the VR thing, that will also display something else in the television running off the power of the Switch. Who knows?
Right.
Nobody knows. But I will say that what you just told me was the first time I'd ever been interested in VR.
Right? It sounds fucking fun.
That does
cool.
sound fun.
I'm in.
All right, so let's move on to some PlayStation Experience stuff. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy
looked amazing.
It did.
Absolutely.
I went to go
amazing.
watch that trailer before the show. I was like, this is like 11 minutes long.
Yeah, it was long.
There was a lot of walking in that trailer.
There was, but it looked really great. And running on the PS4 Pro, it's kind of a ridiculous thing to say, like, the textures are really amazing. but the textures are really amazing on the PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
Like there is an
nice
insane level of detail.
And it's really cool that it's a really cool that this is a spin-off, because I hadn't seen the trailer at PSX or anything. I wasn't available to watch any of that stuff, so I just watched this for the first time before the show. And I was like, it's not Drake.
No.
Oh, it's that girl. She was in 2, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool. A little spin-off starring her. That's neat. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. I like that I like that this is kind of proving that the Uncharted franchise can be broader than just Drake.
Yeah, there's more characters to pull from.
Yeah, and that's neat. No, this game looks really cool. Like I've said before, I really like Uncharted. I don't know why I fell out with the series, but I'm sure it will pull me back in.
We'll get you a PS4 one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days. When the PS5 comes out, I'll
get a PS4.
When my kids are off in college or whatever, I'll be able to catch up on that shit.
It'll be good. I'm really excited for this next one, Last of Us Part 2.
This was another one that I just, because I never played the first one, but yeah, Last of Us Part 2 announcement trailer. I actually skipped a chunk of it because a big chunk of this trailer is just that girl playing guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay,
it's very playing guitar. Moody. Yeah,
looks neat.
Yeah, looks more Last of Us.
To this.
Like, what more do you need? Like The Last of Us remastered on PS4. Like if that's a game that, if you are a PS4 owner and you have not played The Last of Us remastered, stop the podcast, go buy it. It's like, I don't even know. I think I picked it up on a sale for like $10, but like it's under $30 and it is so worth it. It's an incredible game. Naughty Dog does not make bad games.
Nah, they do not screw around. And I'm glad this game got a sequel. It is one of those game titles that sounds weird as a sequel, you know?
Yeah, The Last of Us Part 2. We found another one. Like, it's very Spaceballs Part 3. The search for more money.
But it's no, there's no doubt, like visually speaking, I really like the way they've aged up the little girl character.
Yeah,
like,
she looks really great and
good aging of a character, and that's not something you see in video games that much.
No, like this continuous story. And just
like,
to go back
it's almost
into
like
that
Bart
world,
Simpson always being in 4th grade, you know? It's like these characters are always the same age. Not this time.
To go back into that world and see how things have changed, and to see, like, is it going to be in the same locations or similar locations to The Last of Us, and like, will we go to entirely new places? Like, who knows? It's fucking really exciting though. Like, it was a really great game. The storytelling was really well done, and the multiplayer was really good too. Like completely outside of the story, like the multiplayer was a lot of fun. So I'm pretty excited for it.
I'm glad you are. I am excited that it exists, but having never played the original, I'm kind of okay.
Yeah, well.
So this next one, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Not a very well kept secret, but
no, terribly kept secret. But Mega Man was in the trailer.
Well, X was in the trailer.
Well, all right. Not Zero was in the trailer. And
Zero
is fun to play in
fun.
Ultimate. He's fun, but he's not Mega Man. And this is X, you're right. But and Captain Marvel though, like that was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I like that that's one of the first characters that they showed off. Like Marvel is putting some ink behind Captain Marvel, and I approve of that heartily. What I'm not nuts about is that, much like we mentioned before on this show about MVC, is it just doesn't look right. I don't know what it is about these new Marvel vs. Capcom games.
It's
There's
not
something about
cartoony
the
enough.
art.
It's not
the art
it's not hand-drawn sprites.
It's not grabbing me. And it's not even that it's not the hand-drawn sprites, because like Street Fighter 4 I still think looks phenomenal. I love the art style of Street Fighter 4.
But Street Fighter 4 isn't comic book characters, and comic book characters should look bright. It's too dark.
Yeah, it's just not right.
I do
blue
think
it's cool
and red on Spider-Man's costume are very vibrant, bright blues and reds. And to make those dark to fit in with this art style kind of takes you out of it a little bit. Like Iron Man looks fine.
Yeah,
Iron Man looks fine. War Machine looked fine. Fucking Dormammu and Ghost Rider, like, they looked fine. But the rest, like, it's just, they're not 4-color comics. You know, they're not those bright, vibrant, popping colors.
I would really love to see them. I would love to see them approach this game with a more stylistic art direction, because these do seem like relatively generic character designs. You know, like,
give me some cell shading.
It's like they're going they're trying to go a similar route that Smash does with its visuals, where they take all these characters that have absolutely no business being in the same place, but they manage to successfully shift their art directions so that the whole thing seems cohesive.
Right.
But they do it without sacrificing any of these characters' personalities.
Right.
MVC is doing that similar thing where they're kind of applying a similar art style so that everything seems cohesive, but it's coming at the cost of soul. You know, it's some of its character.
I think.
But
does this make sense? Let me put it like this. When you look at Spider-Man and the Marvel characters and DC characters, for that matter too, when those characters were originally designed, they were designed for kids. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and now Ultimate 3 and Infinite look like if those characters were designed for adults.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Like there's a lack of whimsy to them, and I don't know if whimsy is the right word.
That's the perfect word. That is exactly the right word. There is a lack of whimsy here, and I would. Capcom is more than capable of this.
They absolutely
They're
are.
more than capable.
I've seen Tron Bonne.
We've seen Tron Bonne. We've seen Tatsunoko versus Capcom.
Right.
Like, that was how you take the versus formula and add 3D to it. Like, that game was very colorful.
That being said, I'm probably still going to buy this.
It does look. I mean, I bought MVC3 even though I wound up not liking it all that much.
Yep,
I'm gonna have to.
I bought MVC3 and Ultimate MVC3.
Yes, I did the same.
Yep.
I'm gonna need. Yeah, because Hawkeye had a friggin' super that was Ant-Man on the arrow.
There you go. I like that. Sold. Here's my $40. No problem.
I'm gonna need to see. Now, for me, it was Firebrand. Like, really, Firebrand? That's fantastic. I'm gonna need to see more of this game in action. Obviously, I'm gonna need a platform to play it on. But if this turns into just another infinite combo fest like MVC3 did, I may actually skip it. Just like I'm not jazzed about Street Fighter V, which breaks my heart. But you know, Street Fighter 6 rolls around, or you know, whatever reinvention of Street Fighter V that turns it into the third strike of that series, I'll make that shit happen. But Marvel vs. Capcom has got a lot more to prove to me. That it's going to be more than, I don't want to start a match and then just put down my controller because somebody hit me once. And they're doing on a 350,000 hit combo, and I can do nothing about it.
That's why you got to play against your kids, because they probably are worse than you. Just don't play that shit online, and you'll be fine.
So I'm glad this exists. I do want to say that I'm really jazzed about the Infinity Stones being in it again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Marvel Superheroes was a really cool game because the gem power up things that kept showing up in there. So
yeah, that was fun.
It's a really nice callback to this series' origin. So I'm jazzed to see that in there. All right, one more before the break. I don't think either of us have a ton to say about this. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy.
I am very happy that it exists, and I had no idea until they were showing those side-by-side videos of just how bad the original Crash Bandicoot has aged. Like, I know we talk about it all the time, about how bad that era of gaming looks, but man, when you see it and they do the George Lucas swipe across the screen, and they're like, this is what it used to look like, and fuck that shit. Look at this new thing. Like, man, that game is ugly. Oh,
this is great, and I also think that this is a great way to try to reboot that franchise.
Yeah, I think this is probably leading to a new Crash Bandicoot game, and that's great. I mean, Crash was fun, and the games were really well made, and they played really well and controlled really well as far as 3D platformers are concerned.
But when Crash went multi-platform, it kind of, when Universal took over.
Yeah, it was bad. Same thing with
Naughty Dog
Spyro.
wasn't doing it. Exactly. It just kind of lost. Crash Bandicoot was a PlayStation thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was neat to be able to play, and like it sold well on GameCube. But at the end of the day, that would be like playing Mario on PlayStation. There's just something wrong about it. Like, Crash Bandicoot belongs on PlayStation, and it belongs with... I mean, honestly, it belongs with Naughty Dog, but, I think they've moved on.
Yeah, they're doing other things.
They're doing other things, but at the end of the day, like, this is a PlayStation brand. At the end, that's where this belongs, and I'm glad to see that they did these remasters of those original games, which I've never been a fan of, but I've always been glad they exist, and I'd like to see them go somewhere with this character, like... Let's just forget these other bunch of sequels happened, and let's just focus on the first 3 Crash games, which were great. And if this is successful, then we'll make a new one, and it'll follow that trend.
Yeah, it'll be PlayStation exclusive, as it should be. And like, the same thing happened to the Spyro games. The Spyro games that Insomniac did were really fun and really charming and good little 3D platformers. And then Spyro went to Universal, and Insomniac went on to make some other really good stuff. But then once, like, Insomniac was another one of those developers that was very tied to the PlayStation. And yes, people really liked Sunset Overdrive, but it didn't become the massive hit that I thought Insomniac thought it was going to be. Or certainly that Xbox thought it was going to be. And same thing with Ratchet and Clank. Like that.
They thought that movie was a great idea, and
no,
it wasn't.
It was bad idea. And the Ratchet and Clank games were great.
Yeah.
But they just kept doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like there was no innovation within that genre. And it was like, I'm not going to play this again. You've given me the
no
same
matter
game
how pretty
6
it looks,
times.
I can't do it again.
I'm just not going to do it again. I'd love to see a new Jack and Daxter too, which I know is going back to Naughty Dog, but that would be awesome. Give me more Jack. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's call this a break.
Okay.
At 9:45, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna try to finish out the show as quickly as we can because we're old and tired.
That's right.
You are listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast on Geekade.com, so stick around. And now, here's a look at some of the other original content available right now at Geekade.com. First up, during this time of year, watching Christmas movies is a very popular pastime. But did you know that the daddy of them all has a remarkable backstory? Yes, It's a Wonderful Life has quite the history, including a very rough debut, being tossed into the public domain, and almost becoming lost forever. Read all about it in It's a Wonderful Life. Life Was Better in Bedford Falls by Chip Garrison, located in the think tank.
It's a movie I've never seen.
Same here, and after reading the article, I genuinely really want to see it, because, did you read it, Dan?
No, but I figure I've made it this far into my life without saying It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm not about to fucking change that.
Read the article. It might change your mind. It's the history of that movie is really interesting. Also pertaining a little bit to the conversation we were just having.
All right. You know what else I've never seen?
No.
A Christmas Story. Not going to watch that either.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through either.
Never seen it.
Not a fan.
Never seen it. Next, Trish Reyes has returned for another installment of Before Their Time, and this month she wants us all to know about American Gothic. This 90s TV series featured Gary Cole, Sarah Paulson, the woman who played April O'Neil in the second and third live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, and a Sam Raimi executive producer credit. Seriously, what more do you need to know than that? Actually, a lot more. And you can read all about it in Before Their Time, American Gothic.
You know what else I've never seen?
What's that?
American Gothic.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
Yeah. But after reading this article, I kind of want to.
There you go. Read our articles. They make you want to do things.
Yeah, true. Then Geekade said goodbye to its comic book podcast a few weeks ago with the final issue of Paper Cuts. But now, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Geekade's got a brand spanking new comic book podcast called Bags and Boards. Not Bags and Beards.
No.
And it's hosted by none other than this asshat, Dan Ryan, and his good friend Nick Grillo, both formerly of the Paper Cuts podcasts.
Returning champions, as it were.
Returning champions. It's brand new every Monday, and the first episode can be listened to right now, so be sure to check out Bags and Boards Issue 1 Year in Review Movies.
That's right. Our brand new comic book podcast, wherein the first issue we talk about nothing that has to do with that. Well, we don't talk about comics. We just talk about comic book movies. Finally, Kris's YouTube series, Into the Vault, has a shiny new episode for you. Yes, you. Not him, not her, you. And it's all about one of the dumbest Christmas gifts he's ever gotten. Fortunately, it was from himself, so he can complain about it all he wants. What happens when you take one of the most popular game consoles of all time, strip it of its many core functionalities? You get the poorly named Wii Mini. And if you're thinking the Wii was pretty mini to begin with, you'll probably get why this thing was so dumb pretty quickly. Be sure to check out Into the Vault Wii Mini on the Geekade YouTube channel.
You can catch all this great stuff plus tons of other articles, videos, podcasts, and more right now at geekade.com. All right, we're back. Let's try to blow through the rest of this as quick as we can. Which, knowing Dan and I, will be here for another hour.
I'm just going to give one-word answers from now on.
Spectre Knight, Torment of Trailer. Shovel Knight, Spectre of Torment Trailer.
Lit.
AF.
Lit AF. I'm going to try and use the words from our 12 internet slang words.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, this surprised me. Because the Plague Knight stuff was like play through Shovel Knight as Plague Knight, and that was neat.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Fun. I didn't love it, but it was okay.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was hooray for free DLC. They promised it. They delivered it. I'm happy. It was extra content. This is more like new, like really new content. This isn't just playing through Shovel Knight as Spectre Knight. It's new content.
Yeah, this I'm actually really excited for.
I'm
love
genuinely
Shovel
stoked. Me too.
It was great, and Spectres should be cool. Spectre Knight should be fun to play through.
And it's not just playing through the same levels. It's new stuff, and that's awesome. That's awesomer than awesome. Lit. Speaking of lit, I was well lit after this showed up.
Oh my God, you're so old and white. Jesus, I was so lit.
I was so lit. I was downright crunk.
I was downright extra.
Extra crunk.
I was extra lit. AF.
AF. God. So we heard a while back that Nintendo was partnering with Universal to do a theme park, and then they announced Super Nintendo World, and I audibly squeed.
Yeah,
it was delightful.
I'm really happy about it.
They showed this concept art, and it's all Mario stuff.
Yeah,
it's got like Bowser's Castle and Princess Peach's Castle, and hills and Goombas and pipes, and it all looks really interesting. But then they called it Super Nintendo World, which means that there's more than just Mario there. Yeah. At least it infers it. And there was a couple of like patent things showing off like ideas for like a Donkey Kong minecart roller coaster type thing.
Yep.
A Mario Kart roller coaster type thing. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, they should have done this years ago. You haven't been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, right, Chris?
I have not.
It is
No.
Not to be too on the nose about it, but it is legit the most magical fucking thing you could ever experience. The ride through Hogwarts Castle is one of the most, and I'm being completely serious here, like it is one of the most stunning visual ride experiences that I've ever had. It is everything when you think about theme parks. If you've been to Disney, if you've been to Universal, but you haven't been in a while and you haven't experienced this, it is so incredible to go through this entire thing. And even the queue to get up to the ride of like when you're walking through Hogwarts Castle and the pictures are talking and the Sorting Hat is there and all of this stuff is just so cool. To think about what they can now do with a Nintendo World is so very, very exciting. And
It really is.
they're going to pump a ton of money into this because Universal has the wonderful position of not owning Star Wars. Disney does, and Disney owns Marvel. So even though Universal has Islands of Adventure and they have the Marvel Island there, which has a really incredible Spider-Man ride and a really incredible Hulk roller coaster and a really shitty Fantastic Four restaurant and a kind of okay Storm thing, like that's about it. It's a cool place to go. I love going there. When we lived in Florida, we would go multiple times a year. It's a really fun place to kind of immerse yourself in. But with Disney expanding the things that they're doing in their theme parks, with the Star Wars expansions that are coming, they're doing stuff in Animal Kingdom with what's the blue people that was Pocahontas, the James. Yeah, what is that thing called? Avatar. Yeah, fuck. I couldn't even remember because it was awful. But they're doing a whole bunch of stuff with Avatar. Disney just recently expanded the Magic Kingdom to include like a new roller coaster that's Snow White and all of that. All of this stuff is great and it's really fun. It's incredibly expensive to go to, but just the potential that is here is fucking pants-wettingly exciting.
Like, I think it's obvious that we're going to get something Zelda-related in there. I think it's likely that we'll see Animal Crossing and or Donkey Kong. But it's the other stuff that really excites me. Like, is there going to be something Metroid? That would be amazing. Is there going to be something Kirby? Is there going to be something Fire Emblem?
Or Pikmin. Pikmin seems...
Oh, man, Pikmin. That would be really cool. There's a lot of potential here.
Even if the Pikmin thing were just a little kid's play area, you know, like to go around and bounce around and it was all safe if like they fell and like you wouldn't skin a knee, you know, you could still have a fun, you know, day. Like there's a lot of potential there for things to be really cool.
Or if you gather up a bunch of toddlers and then a giant monster shows up and you have to throw the toddlers at the monster like in Pikmin, that would be fantastic. Also, the joy of this is that this is scheduled to open like right before the Tokyo Olympics. Yeah. So good on you. Good job, guys.
This should be fun.
It's going to open in Japan right before the Olympics, which is, I mean, their whole Olympic closing ceremony that friggin' Mario and Hello Kitty and whatnot were a part of.
Yeah.
This is going to be cool. This is going to be really exciting stuff. And then eventually it's going to find its way to Florida and then California. So, hooray for the future.
I'm going to have to go to Japan. One more reason.
Yeah, one more reason. Let's see. The next one, we kind of already touched on this. There was the Zelda trailer at Game Awards, which was almost immediately rendered useless after the Tonight Show stuff with Jimmy Fallon. So Zelda looks great. I'm interested. I can't wait to hear more about it on January 12th. Like January 12th, I want it to happen.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite things. I'm so stoked for this. There is a new Blaster Master coming out for 3DS, and it looks awesome. It looks
really good.
It does. I want there to be a trailer. I really want to see this game running.
Yeah.
Because right now there's just been a handful of screenshots and whatnot.
And they look great.
They do. They look great. This is from
But I've
Creates,
been lied to before, so...
I have two. Blaster Master has had it's had a past. It's had some issues with some games. They've never been flat out bad. There hasn't been any really bad Blaster Master games, but nothing has captured the spirit of the original. And I think a lot of it had to do with the developers making the games. It's a lot of them were developed in-house or. This one is Innie Creates, and this was, from what I understand, Innie Creates reaching out to Sunsoft and saying, we want to make a Blaster Master game. That right there that's not, Sunsoft saying, let's make a new Blaster Master game and then figuring out how. This is a company saying, I want to do this, and then doing it. Yeah.
Can we please?
And Sunsoft saying, sure, we would love for somebody to make a good game out of our properties.
Yeah, really. We need money.
The visuals are very, very interesting. It's got a very modern 8-bit look, it's been pretty popular. It just looks great. It's all going to come down to how does it play, how does it feel. But I got to say, I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I just can't wait.
Yeah, I'm into it. I hope it's great. I really do. I hope it's really great.
Innie Creates says they've got a pretty good track record. I mean,
they do.
They were involved in Mighty Number 9, but
well,
let's not hold that against them entirely. They also did the Azure Striker Gunvolt games, which were really cool,
which are really fun and really good.
The art direction looks good on this. It's a flat out reboot, which I'm glad with because. Yeah, we don't need to try to make sense of the Blaster Master's storyline.
No, there's really no need.
Yeah, that's a level of insanity nobody needs. No. But yeah, I am so Blaster Master's it's all time for me. It's just one of my favorites, and I'm so excited to see somebody taking a reboot seriously. And the fact that it's on 3DS, it kind of excites me because. Now, granted, I would much rather play it on a big TV. Like, obviously, I would always rather play my games on a big television. But the fact that it's being developed for 3DS kind of means that it's really low risk as far as like what kind of money they're going to need to pour into it to make the graphics look nice. So they're really going to be able to just focus on making it play well. And
which is really all I want. I just want a Blaster Master game that plays well.
Me too. I want a Blaster Master game that looks, plays, it's just fun. So, Blaster Master Zero coming out for 3DS. I am just jazzed as heck about it. All right, next story. Love this. Love it. I just want to wrap my arms around it. A Kingdom Hearts collection to be released for PlayStation 4 early next year.
Say it ain't so, Chris.
What are we calling this?
Oh, something fucking
Is it
stupid.
actually called Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix, I think is the name of it. And it will include, and this is the reason I included this story, so that I can say all of this crap out loud. This story is coming from a website called Common Sense Gaming. This is what I'm reading. The upgraded 1.5 plus 2.5 remix will contain the quote-unquote final mix of Kingdom Hearts.
No, it won't.
We're okay. Kingdom Hearts, we're good. Kingdom Hearts 2, also good. Birth by Sleep. Chain of Memories. 358 over 2 days, and coded. This will follow the January 27th release of Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue HD, which will contain Dream Drop Distance, it's not X back cover. It's like a Greek symbol. I don't know what it is, but it's something like back cover, and the new adventure 0.2 Birth by Sleep.
It's so dumb. It's so stupid. I fucking love it. It's so awful.
It's like techno babble from old Star Trek, but worse. None of this crap makes any sense.
Nope. I understand all of those words. I understand none of them together.
Like just Dream Drop Distance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Like it's 3D. The 3D words was a 3DS game. I get it. It's very clever, guys.
Yeah, you guys are fucking smart.
Yeah. I just
Boo.
can't.
Boo
If you are somehow still listening to this podcast and you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, please write us in and tell us why.
Yeah, come on now.
Let us know why you're excited for this.
Let us know what we are missing.
Yeah, what it is that we're missing, and it might be vocabulary. So, this next one is really interesting. Did you watch this?
No, I did not.
You got to see this to believe it, man. Wolfenstein 3D pointed to Game Boy Color on a turbocharged cart. Now, I expected a Game Boy Color Wolfenstein 3D. I was expecting to see what I think a Game Boy Color is capable of with Wolfenstein 3D. But it runs like 60 frames per second.
That's crazy.
Smooth as butter. It's like playing it on your old PC, but it sounds like a Game Boy game because it's running on a Game Boy cartridge through Game Boy architecture, but this guy put all like these extra processors and shit in the cartridge, and then you shove it in there and it works. You've got to watch this video. It just blows my mind every time I look at this thing go. I'm like, I remember playing Doom on my Game Boy Advance and it didn't look anything like this.
Yeah.
I am freaking floored by what this guy was able to do with Wolfenstein 3D on Game Boy Color. This is madness. I am so glad people like this exist.
I want this guy to be curing cancer, though. Like, let's be honest here. Come on. Fucking wasting your time on this shit.
This is modern. His name is Anders Granlund, and he built a playable version of the classic first-person shooter for the ancient handheld console. This article is coming to us from Engadget, and boy, oh boy, this kind of stuff just always makes me happy.
It's so weird, but good for him.
Yeah, that's Jurassic Park levels of they, whether or not they should kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But hey, they did it. This next story came to us from the mind of Matt Much. He sent me a link to this a while back, and I thought it was interesting enough to mention. A company, this is coming to us from Gizmodo, a company named, I don't know what the company's name is, but this is called the Goofy Foot NES controller. It's a left-handed NES controller.
It's about time.
Yeah. Little late to the game, but
a little bit.
Better late than never. It's on Kickstarter. If you pledge $46, you get it.
You can have one.
You can have a left-handed NES controller for the low price of $46.
Sure.
I don't know who this is for, besides left-handed people with way too much money on their hands that are really into NES games.
Me, then, apparently.
Yeah, this is designed for 8 people in the world. I didn't know there was a market for this kind of thing. I just assumed lefties played games like the rest of us. But
that's how I play.
Sure. I mean, it looks neat. It's well designed. It's just the NES controller mirrored. So I think $46 is a bit steep for a controller with this many buttons, but
it's a small market, like
they can't really mass produce it.
Yeah.
Neat story though.
Yeah, I'm again glad that it exists.
I'm glad somebody took the time. Speaking of taking time, the Super Nintendo is getting a new fighting game next year. I don't know. I watched the video. It doesn't look all that good.
No.
It comes from former SNK developers, and it's called Unholy Night,
which should be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean it looks fun, I guess, but I'm not all that impressed by it. Yeah. Technically, like it's pretty choppy. Maybe just because it's unfinished. I don't know, man. This is a weird story. It's probably never coming out here in America, and that's fine. I'm not all that enthused by it.
Yeah,
it just looks pretty generic to me. Like the character designs they're definitely like from that era SNK games, you know? Like they're relatively stylish, but at the end of the day none of them are memorable.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I'm not into it.
again, good for these guys. They had it. They really wanted to make a new fighting game for Super Nintendo, and a new fighting game for Super Nintendo they made.
And indeed they did.
They have done what they have set out to do. I am not impressed by what I've seen, but then again, I haven't seen it in person, so who knows? Maybe the finished product will be something incredibly cool.
Let's hope so.
This, I can almost guarantee, will not be something incredibly cool. Capcom is bringing all the 8-bit NES Mega Man games to mobile, which is a terrible idea.
Really, like, playing games with a touchscreen digital D-pad is questionable at best.
It is extra.
It is cuck. And
it is extra cuck.
It is extra cuck AF. And trying to do it with a game that requires the pixel precision of Mega Man is, like, I cannot imagine trying to get through Iceman or Heatman.
Yo, Quickman. Do the laser section of Quickman stage without a real D-pad and buttons.
But even with the time stopper, I can see maybe that you can get through that. But like the platforming in the disappearing blocks.
Yeah, you're right. Heatman stage. I mean, well, see, I always just use item 2 for that.
But, but then Iceman. Iceman in the first one. Like, you're just going to get a low point total. And I mean, that is the key of Mega Man 1, is to get the most points, right? Like,
it's all about getting those little balls.
Okay, yeah, that's how I always did.
Yeah.
It's just, man, this seems like a bad idea. Like,
again,
Capcom, like, God, dude.
Like, there is a reason Nintendo didn't just make a Mario platformer on iPhone.
Right.
There's a very good reason. Because it's a bad plan.
Right.
This Mario Run is an automatic runner for a reason.
Yeah.
That's because that works on iPhone. Say what you will about Mario Run, there's no denying that the gameplay works.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I've played Mega Man games on the iPhone. They put Mega Man X on the iPhone.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
It's awful.
It's just terrible.
Maybe we'll have to get that iBoy thing, the fucking, like, slide your phone into the Game Boy case.
Oh, yeah, true.
Like, maybe that'll, but
they released the Mega Man Legacy Collection on the 3DS. Like, this is why handheld gaming systems exist.
But okay, so is the Android one going to be 1 through 8 or 1 through 6? Because
I was under the impression it's just the NES
6.
ones. Yeah,
right?
I think it's just the NES games.
All right, so
I think.
If it's just the Legacy Collection, play that on a 3DS.
Or on a TV, you know, just play it any way that involves you holding a controller. Yeah, I'm fairly certain this is just the NES Mega Man games.
It's not a pachinko machine, so it's a little better than that, but not much.
It is. Huzzah. But,
Cuck AF.
boo. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, we did it. Last story of the night. This is kind of neat. An unreleased Akira game for Game Boy resurfaced. This dude found like a bunch of loose boards for an Akira Game Boy game.
That's weird.
It's weird.
We've talked a little bit about on this show and Paper Cuts and the new Bags and Boards podcast about how much I'm not a fan really of anime. There are certain ones that I like, and the ones that I do like, I like a lot, but it's just not a thing I've really gotten heavily into. Akira happens to be one of the ones that I really, really like. And to imagine the scope of Akira smushed into a Game Boy cart doesn't really...
Does not compute.
It just doesn't
did you watch
really
the video?
Make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like, you're running around and like the platforming segments and all the bad guys are really short and like clearly it's very unfinished. It's very unfinished.
Like it's almost unfair to even judge it. But the idea itself it's weird.
It is very strange.
Like if it had
I don't
been
know.
If it had been like, oh, they were going to make Akira as a Game Boy game, but it was going to be like an RPG, like, okay, that I could maybe understand, sure.
We're going to make an Akira PlayStation 2 game or something.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. But like
the Game Boy, this is a weird fit.
It's a weird. Sometimes there's a reason that things are canceled, and this appears to be that they had a reason. Of like they got halfway through and went, "This is fucking stupid. What are we doing?
Why are we doing this? Who is this for?
Nobody's going to buy this. This is awful. God. What a dumb idea we all had. Johnson, you're fucking fired. God damn it. Go make Barbie games. Never mind.
Johnson
you're
then went
unfired.
to go make
you're
the Fist
rehired.
of the North Star Game Boy game.
That's right. You're going to make Barbie Superstar Shopping Saga. That's your life now. Don't bring any more ideas. Fuck out of here.
Oh, God.
Fuck out of Berkeley Square, Johnson.
Well, we did it, Dan. We did it. I think we caught up on all the major news stories that we missed.
It only took us 2 hours, Chris.
No, it's 10:30. And that's our show.
You weren't
Thank
going to
God.
bed anyway. Stop it.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to go upstairs and say I'm going to bed, but I'm going to shower and then play Puzzle and Dragons for a little bit.
No, I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
No, well,
I'm tired AF, yo.
I'm extra tired. I'm lit. Is that the proper way to do it? I ship my tiredness.
I think so.
Okay, that's good. I want to sound as out of touch and unhip as possible. Think maybe if we bring back getting jiggy with it,
I think we need to make our new word. I think things need to be twick.
This podcast twick AF.
This is twick. Nah, man, it's Crescent Fresh.
It is Crescent Fresh indeed, my friend.
All right, join us next week when we will be doling out our annual SAG-JGLD awards, which I don't know about you, Dan, but I haven't given it any thought.
No, not at all. It's Puzzle
Actually,
and
that's
Dragons.
not true. I already know my game of the year.
Puzzle
but,
and Dragons. Done.
Other
It wins for everything. Portal 2.
Portal 2.
Portal 2 is my game of the year.
Once again, you can get in touch with us at mail@geekade.com as well as all flavors of social media that we inhabit. You can like us on Facebook, find us on Instagram at Geekade, subscribe to our YouTube and Twitch channels for all our latest video content, follow us on Twitter at _Geekade, and you can also find us individually on Twitter. I am at Geekade Chris, and Dan is at
Geekade Dan.
If you're interested in more information about anything we discussed tonight, be sure to check out our show notes. And while you're at it, you can also subscribe to this and any of our other wonderful podcasts on iTunes or Stitcher. Or if you're super nice, you can leave us a review because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. We'd also like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for ditching us halfway through the show to go edit another one.
Bastard.
Bastard. Edited that stupid TV podcast with that jackass Kris. Anyway, yeah, thank you for making our shows listenable, Evan. We'd also like to thank Mark TDK Knight for our show's theme. You can check him out on SoundCloud at Bandcamp or his website, which we have a link to in the show notes. Again, always remember to keep your eyes on geekade.com where we post something new every single day. Thank you again for listening, and on behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.